All right, well, the tassels are turning, the mortarboards soaring. Graduation season in full swing and a perfect time for the college-bound to think about their savings.
Yeah, tomorrow happens to be 529 Day, May 29th. So we're taking a moment to highlight 529 accounts and here to break down whether they're a good fit for achieving your family's dreams. We have Samantha Pahlow with Ferguson Wellman. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Good to be here.
So a good preview here for 529 Day. First, let's start with what is a 529 account? What are they used for?
So 529, named after the Internal Revenue Code section 529.
Ooh,
very
fancy.
exciting. It's an education savings account. So some time ago, Congress decided that they wanted to encourage families to save for education. So these accounts you can make contributions to, and you don't have to pay tax on the earnings and the growth inside that account as long as you use it for qualified education expenses. So it's a great way to sort of supercharge your compound growth and savings to pay for what is a rising expense for a lot of families.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
higher
for sure.
education is so expensive, and it has been for years and years. With that said, I mean, how advantageous is a 529 compared to maybe a more traditional method of savings? I mean, what is the gap there that you're seeing?
Yeah, so if you think about a traditional savings account, you're going to pay tax on interest, dividends, if you're investing in stocks and bonds, when you're selling, having gains, that's going to have a drag on what you're growing, and you're not reinvesting those funds. In a 529 account, over time, you can really see quite a bit of additional compound growth. I would say it depends on how much you're saving and how you're investing it, but 30%, 40% more, maybe even double over a long time frame, just from all of that growth that you're not paying tax on.
Significant.
Yeah, getting that tax-free factor in there really can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
But I think it's hard sometimes for people to look at the future, right? Maybe your kiddo's looking at kindergarten right now and you're thinking, I don't know if they're going to go to college, or I don't know how many kids I'm going to send to school. So, is the 529 a good way to go? Are there other options outside of a traditional college degree that would still make a 529 account worth that investment?
Great question. Yes. So the 529 has become more and more flexible over the years. In fact, just recently they added more options where you can pay for some K through 12 education. You do need to be really careful because not all states allow that. So there could be a little bit of complexity in your state tax savings, but federally you can pay for some of that K through 12. You can pay for apprenticeship programs, you can do some student loan repayment. And one of the things that a lot of folks don't realize is you can change the beneficiary. So if you're saving for one child or niece or nephew, there's really a broad array of folks that you could have 529 accounts for, and that person doesn't go to school or doesn't need all the funds, you can change it to a family member of theirs and pay for their education later on. You can even change it back to yourself. Maybe you decide you want to go back to school in later years and want to use those funds. So there's a lot of ways to get those funds out.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was curious about that. If that child chooses not to go to school at all, what happens to that money? Is it possible just to cash out on it, or does it have to be transferred to another cause?
You can take it out, but you do have to pay tax on the earnings and penalty, 10% penalty if you take it out for non-qualified reasons. So
okay, so a little bit of a heads up there,
but
nothing.
It's not something you want to shove all, indiscriminately fund money into, but be thoughtful about what you think you're going to use those funds for and how much you need to be saving.
Well, that's great. That kind of leads into my next question, which was, we have so many different buckets, right, that all need savings, or different places where you can try to allocate those resources. So what should someone's priority be if they're thinking, do I save for retirement? Do I save for education? Can you rank them?
So you were talking about airlines earlier, and that is actually the analogy I would use is, when the flight attendant tells you to put your own oxygen mask on before your neighbor or your family member, we are going to always recommend that you're funding your retirement first and your emergency funds, because you're not going to be a lot of help to your kids or that student later on if you have to live off of their finances because you didn't properly fund your retirement. There's also some limits on how much you can put in your own retirement every year, so making sure that you're doing that before you then move to the education funding. But every little bit helps. So even if it's a couple $100s extra per month that you can squeeze out after your retirement and put it into education savings, that can grow over time with that tax-free compounding.
Yeah, fascinating conversation to continue to have. And it's never too soon to start saving, never too soon to start investing. So good reminders here. Samantha, always nice to see you. Appreciate your time here this morning.
Thanks.
Yeah. And again, to review these tips and to start your college savings journey, make sure you check out this story on Koin.com. You can also find our other Wallet Wednesday segments for all of those financial needs on Koin.com.
Some good